Hello, I'm Robert and I'm brand new to the world of miniature modelling. I'll be starting with this British World War II War Correspondent set in 1/35th scale. The reason for the video is mainly to record and document as I go along, so I could look back at any errors and get advice from the community. So do bear with me, but any advice is most welcome. It may seem silly, but I was really self-conscious on how much glue I was putting onto the model. Sometimes it was too much, and sometimes it wasn't enough. I don't know, maybe there's a golden rule of 2 droplets per arm or 5 droplets per waist. I guess experience will eventually guide the way. Before I started, I decided to leave the head, camera and the hand to the end and paint them all separately. But they turned out to be a pain to put together, marking the paint. I think next time I'll complete the model first, but it was a learning curve, so it's all good. What I'm putting together here is the camera the photographer is holding. There was plenty of gaps in the model. I used a plastic putty from Vallejo. This stuff was great to work with, but next time I'll make sure to remove more of the excess putty from the model. As it dried hard, it left over bits which were obvious once I painted over it. More time should have been taken to make sure only what was on the model was for effect. The wet brush reactivated the putty, so I could remove a few more bits. But once it dried, it was easy to sand down. I prepared a surface finisher to show imperfections on the model. I diluted it with thinner with a 50-50 ratio, just making sure the mix was the consistency of milk. But you're going to have to imagine the airbrush scene after this, as the camera ran out of space. Once it was dried, I made sure to refine the details more on the model. I noticed the lad in the reference had a net helmet, so I added one using a wedding veil and a bit of super glue. I'll have to thank Shane Smith for showing me this awesome technique. I left some edges, as this usually is seen with the use of the helmet. And using some foil, I cut a chin strap to base on the front of the helmet. He wears one in the model, but I thought I'd give it a go anyway. It was a good learning experience. So here I carefully added paint to the wet palette and started on the leather vest. This is the second layer going in. And then I followed that with a dry brush. Next was to paint the uniform, and I started with a lighter base coat. With the camera, I added a gunmetal paint for the base. A few spats of white to highlight those edges. Then I covered it in black. Now, the face I was dreading the most. The video doesn't really show how small it is, and I know a lot of people who have worked on it will say the same thing. It took me a few tries to get the eyes in also. I mean, hats off to the guys that can do this. It's incredible the amount of skill that people have. And you don't really realise it until you actually do it. But I gave it a good try. I think for the first go, I'm pretty happy with it. I was going to add some highlighting, but I just decided to do the lips and then have a read on the highlighting techniques. A quick dry brush over the boots and model, and then I decided to detail some of those misfits. And finally the decals. Once again, this took me a few goes to get them on the model, but once they were on, I was done. Overall, I'm happy with the result. The face is a bit spotty from the many layers of tries it took me to get those eyes in. Any tips or suggestions would be great. Thanks.